when we're in the midst of a presidential election, and I know it doesn't actually feel like that's what we're doing right now, but we are in the midst of a presidential election. It can be very easy to allow the decision come down to a question of left versus right, a question of, do you want a Democrat running the country or do you want a Republican running the country? Because sadly, we don't really have any other choice. You can choose to vote for third party, you can choose not to vote at all, but frankly, one of the two people that is going to be elected is the Democratic candidate, currently Joe Biden, who knows if he's actually going to make it to November, but currently Biden, or the Republican candidate, Donald Trump. And it can be very easy to say, ooh, I have to choose between Democrat and Republican, and going back to our comfort zone of choosing the candidate that is most closely aligned with the party that we are aligning ourselves with. I want to make the case that that is not the question that we should be asking right now. This is not a question of left versus right, of Democrat versus Republican. This is a question of authoritarianism versus libertarianism. Do you want the government, or dare I say, the mob, having control over your daily life, or do you, as an individual, want to be the one that is in control of your daily life? And so that's what I just want to spend a couple minutes discussing in this video. But before we get into that, listen, folks, I can't do these videos without your support. It really does make a difference. There are lots of ways that you can support me. You can give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel. You can turn on those notifications. Some of you choose to make a monthly donation on Subscribestar to support this work. And it's actually really exciting because this is now starting to become a self-sustaining little project for me, where I can actually justify giving up some of my day job to focus on doing these videos. And I'm really excited about it, being able to free up my time to make better content for you. I think it's going to be awesome. Now, when you give me a monthly gift on Subscribestar to support this work, one of the benefits is that you get a shout out in one of my videos. And today I have 3 shout outs to give. Thank you to APD, thank you to Alexa, and thank you to Leslie. Your support means the world. I can't do it without you. All right, let's get into this question. So this is the political compass test. Now, I'm not going to get into the validity of the political compass test here. It's actually a whole other video on this channel of me taking the political compass test so you can see exactly where I fall. I tend to be left libertarian. I know some of you guys don't believe I still am on the left. I really am. But the reason that you guys confuse me with being more conservative is because I happen to veer greatly, more in the last several months than I ever have in my life, towards the libertarian end of the spectrum. I actually used to be right up here. I used to be almost exactly on the line between left and right, and just slightly down towards libertarianism. In the past couple months, or at least as of the last time I took it, I'm way the heck down here. I'm still to the left, but I'm way the heck down here towards libertarian. And this is actually the most important question for me right now. Listen, when we're looking on the scale of left to right, this is largely an economic question. So if you are in favor of the left having control of our economy, and what that tends to level out to is the government's controlling the means of production to greater or lesser extent. It could be through regulation, and I actually am in favor of some regulation because I've worked with enough businesses to know that they do shady stuff unless they are absolutely forced not to. So it's about regulation all the way up to all flat out communism. That's what we're talking about on the left when we're looking at this economic scale, and you might be somewhere on the spectrum. On the right end of this, we're looking at more of a deregulated free market where businesses can do what they want and the free market decides who wins, and capitalism is awesome and all this stuff. That's what we're talking about when we're looking at left versus right. It's about, does the government control the means of production? Are you in favor of regulation on businesses? Or are you in favor of a total free market and all of that good stuff? That to me is not the most important question right now, though. It's not, because let's just be honest for a second. If this is the only question that you're asking about, do I want the economy to be regulated by the government or do I want more of a free market? Then this is really easy. If you want the government to have more control over the economy, you're going to vote for Biden. If you want the economy to be largely deregulated, to have more of a free market principle, you're going to vote for Trump. That's the way it is, okay? But this isn't the most important thing. right now. Listen, I have a lot of issues with conservatives. I do. We don't agree on many things, and many of the things that we don't agree on relate to the economy. For example, like I said, I am in favor of regulation. I am in favor of certain welfare programs. I think that they can be really effective in helping people get through tough times and getting people back on their feet, things like that. Those are things, though, that we need to bicker about later. We need to put that stuff on the back burner right now, because what is actually the most important thing is the authoritarian versus libertarian question. When this is listen, we're seeing this play out right in front of us in terms of angry mobs of people taking over our society and actually being supported and endorsed by the media who is covering for them every single day. Are you in favor of angry mobs? Then you're going to be more towards the authoritarian end. Are you not in favor of angry mobs? Then you're going to be more towards the libertarian end. And the reason this is important is this is about a collective view of our society versus an individual view of our society. So when we're thinking about authoritarianism, a word that might come up to describe this a lot is fascism, right? How often do we hear fascism thrown around all day, every day? And what people don't seem to understand is that you can be an authoritarian and be on the left. And you can be an authoritarian and be on the right. Authoritarians on the right were called alt-right for a long time. Now it seems as though everyone on the right is alt-right no matter what. Everyone to the right of the most progressive people in the society are considered alt-right, which is absurd. But that's neither here nor there. What I want you to understand here is that you can be an authoritarian and be on the left. You can be an authoritarian and be on the right. You can be a libertarian and be on the left. You can be a libertarian and be on the right, because this is a social scale. Left to right is an economic scale. Authoritarianism to libertarianism is a social scale. And I believe that the most important question that we should be asking ourselves right now is, do we want the government or perhaps or an angry mob to be in charge of your life, in terms of how you spend your time, in terms of what you can do, in terms of what books you can read, what movies you can watch, what ideas you can consider? Do you want the mob to be in charge of those things? Or do you want to be in charge of those things? Do you want to make those decisions? Do you want to decide what ideas you can consider, what books you can read, what movies you can watch, all those things? Who do you want to decide that? Because that's what we're talking about right now. Listen, what we're seeing happen on the left is every single thing is getting canceled. Well, why is it getting canceled? Because what the left is buying into right now is an authoritarian view of the world. That's what it is. They're saying that we, the angry mob, are in charge of telling you that you can't watch Gone with the Wind, and you can't read To Kill a Mockingbird or Adventures of Huck Finn, all things that have been canceled in recent weeks by the left. Whereas if you were down towards the libertarian end of things, you're going to say, yeah, read what you want, consider what ideas you want, think for yourself, consider a wide variety of ideas, and then come to your own conclusions. For my money, this is the question that is actually the most important. And listen, if we're talking about what candidates you're going to vote for in November, Joe Biden's going to be up towards the authoritarian end. Donald Trump is going to be down towards the libertarian end. Donald Trump doesn't care about these things. He doesn't care. Name the last thing that Donald Trump has tried to cancel. Name the last thing that, name the last book that Donald Trump told you couldn't read, or the movie that Donald Trump told you couldn't watch, or even going out and not wearing a fucking mask, which I think is a very authoritarian thing. Joe Biden recently came out and said that he was going to mandate, if he got elected, he was going to mandate through executive order that every single person, when they go outside, wears a mask on their face. That is an authoritarian approach. It is not a libertarian approach. Donald Trump's not playing this game. Listen, the left has called Donald Trump a fascist for years and years and years. I have to admit, I was one of the people that bought into this. I really thought that if Trump got elected, he was going to become that authoritarian, even Hitler-like figure. I really did. But that hasn't happened. Listen, how many times in the past several weeks, could Donald Trump have ordered out the military, ordered the National Guard, or to take care of the rioters and the looters and the people pulling down these statues? He hasn't done that. He has fundamentally not behaved like a fascist. And I gotta tell you that, I was kind of surprised at that, to be honest. I actually wanted Donald Trump to come out a lot stronger than he did. Maybe I do have a little bit of authoritarian in me, because I wanted him to put a stop to this nonsense. And now we can see there are arrests being made with people who are tearing down the statues. I think that's good. I'm kind of digressing there. I think that this is the biggest question we need to consider right now. Do you want an authoritarian, collective view of society? Is that what you want in charge of our government? Or do you want someone more down on the libertarian end that says you are in control of your lives, you make your decisions, you don't need the government to tell you what to do? Authoritarian versus libertarian. That's the question. That's the question. And for my money, listen, even though I am in favor of some government regulation and some government programs, at the end of the day, I would much rather get up knowing that I am in control over my destiny. I am in control over my experience. I am in control of my life. I am in control of my business. I am in control of all these things. I don't need the government coming in and telling me what to do and trying to live my life for me. That is just, it is fraught with problems. And that is the fundamental question that I believe that we should be voting for. Not left versus right, not Democrat versus Republican. Are you an authoritarian or are you a libertarian? I think that's really the biggest fundamental question that we all have in front of us right now. Are you in favor of the mob, or are you in favor of just people being empowered to go live their lives, do what they want to do without having to answer to anyone or have anyone in any position of power saying, you can't do those things? And then once we get that sorted out, then we can go back to the economic issues. Then we can take on the disagreements that we have. Where I've been running into challenges is that on the question of authoritarian versus libertarianism, I agree with the right. I agree with the conservatives who are saying this is all about personal empowerment. You do for you. You pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You work hard. You start your businesses. You make more money. You get things done. You don't have the government interfering in your lives. This is where I align with where the right is at right now. The left is much more about collectivism, authoritarianism, and if you don't bend the knee and capitulate to the mob, then we are going to take your livelihood away from you. Mark my words, if you vote for more authoritarianism, if you vote for the Democrats in this upcoming election, this is going to be about who is going to bend the knee to the cult of this SJW ideology and who is not. And that's what I am deathly afraid of in all this. I am deathly afraid that if Joe Biden wins this election, that's what we're looking at. Because he's not all there. We all know he's not all there. We've talked about how he's not all there. He is not going to be running the show. The people he surrounds himself with are going to be running the show. And guess where the people he surrounds himself with are at right now? They're right up here, darling. They might be over to the left. They might be over in this authoritarian left area, and that's fine. But they're still on the authoritarian area. If they are above this line, that is a no-go, so far as I'm concerned. So this is the fundamental question. How much control do you want to have over your life? Or do you want to cede control to the government or to the mob? That's the question we're facing in this election. I'm going to cross my fingers it goes the way I want it to go.